I remember seeing Perry standing on top of the roof of the car with the axe, and I'll try and watch my language here, but if you imagine the scenario, three of the largest people and strongest people I know is in the car, Perry, Emad and Wrenches, and they can't get into it. And it's like, it's frustrating. For me, I'm just sitting there thinking, like, not being disrespectful, I'm thinking, right, okay, so working hard isn't working. Like, we have to start working smart and think, how do we do this?
It had been more than 5 minutes that Ashlyn Krell had been submerged in her car. Constable Peter Wrenches, Constable Emad Hayter, and Sergeant Perry Graham were working furiously trying to get in. By then, Sergeant Callum Rankin had arrived. He surveyed the situation and knew they had to work smarter. First responders were by now gathered at the top of the ditch. Even the most experienced among them were astonished by what they saw.
The water is right up to the floorboards of the car. The proximity to the cement and the dirt, like, you're in amazement for a first second. Like, how did this happen right off the bat? How did this happen?
I just remember thinking, like, how is there a car upside down in this perfectly fit little spot? And you saw it. It was inches, you know, either way.
When I pulled up right behind Callum, again, I slid almost into his cruiser. I ran down with my flashlight to Perry in the ditch and tried to, what can I do type thing. And I think that's when Callum asked me to go shut the highway down. So I ran right back up to my cruiser, popped the trunk, and started grabbing flares out. Actually, I ran out into traffic and stopped them with my hands first and got...
Good Lord.
There wasn't much we could do in the position it was in other than attempt to open the car. I don't think we had any ability of getting whoever was in out at that point in time, but we knew a wrecker was coming.
Yeah, so anyway, the tow guy goes, they're doing their hookup, the fire guys are there, they're putting their jaws of life, and they're trying to breach where I had been, and they realize the same thing. No matter what they do, you can't get in there. There's not enough room on either side.
At some point, it becomes very apparent to me within 1 or 2 seconds that what we need to do is get the car out of the water.
Oh, and again, at that point, we still thought we've got, or at least I thought, they've got, you know, 2 occupants, probably kids in the back, and I'm thinking this is going to be a really bad thing.
How long have they been under? 9 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay. And as I stepped off the truck, we have certain protocols that we do, accident scenes, extrications, but they didn't apply to this.
Did they seem urgent? Did they seem
Absolutely,
to be...
yeah. Everybody was organized chaos.
Yeah.
Is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
One of the officers handed me the flashlight. As soon as we got there, his hands were, like, you could tell they were beat red and they were cramped. He couldn't even hold on to his own flashlight. But as soon as he gave it to me, he was right back at the vehicle, working away, trying to get the door open again.
We got the stretcher out of the back of the ambulance, and we stayed up on the roadway. And as time went on, I looked at Marco and I said to him, be prepared. In all likelihood, whoever it is that we pull out of this vehicle is going to be without vital signs.
When the tow truck arrived, just painfully slow. Not his fault, but just his equipment only goes at a certain speed. And then when the cable got unwound, it wasn't long enough. And I kind of wondered that when I'm looking at it.
So technically, on the tilts, there's usually not a whole lot of cable, right? Because we're not usually doing that kind of recovery as often as a normal tow truck. Right. So we're limited on cable we have.
So then we start grabbing chains and belts to basically extend the cable, like a kind of band-aid type of rig system to get to the axle.
Once I got my rigging up, it come over no problem. It was just a matter of trying to do it slow enough where if there are people in there, nobody's getting more hurt or tossed out. Right? I don't want to have somebody fall out of the car into the water. You know, I don't know where they are in the car. I don't know how many people are in the car. I just know it needs to be a soft landing.
Once the car now comes over and the door just kind of flopped open because we already had that undone while it was underwater.
You got to kind of run your hand down to see where you're cutting, and then you slide your tool into the water, and then you're trying to cut.
And you don't know where she is, right?
No, you're trying to find where she is exactly before you make a cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can't train for that.
When the car kind of flips over, I saw, you know, Ashton laying there across the driver, on the driver's seat, sitting on the driver's seat, lying on the passenger seat, lifeless.
Seatbelt on.
Seatbelt on. Yeah, strapped in. That's probably why she stayed in that position.
And so you couldn't see her face because she had her hoodie up and it was right around her face. And so they get her out of the vehicle, and I'm happy there's only one. And they get her out, they get her on the stretcher, and I actually got to help because the firemen, there's guys in the vehicle, there's guys all over, and they're passing, and that's what we do. And I happen to be at the end of the line, so I put her on the gurney with another guy, and I pulled her hood back. So I took her hood and I pulled it back, and there she was. And you get to see her face for the first time, and her eyes were open. And it's, you know, that dead fish look is what I call it, when you go fishing and you got a fish in your boat, and right in her eyes, they're just fixed, dilated, there's no reaction. I got my big light on and nothing's happening. And, you know, she's pale as can be and the lips are blue and her hair's all wet and there's like mud on her and whatnot, and I thought, yeah, she's gone. And I remember saying, I said to somebody, she's gone.
And there was froth or foam that seemed to be coming out of her mouth. And again, she was not making any purposeful movements, that's for sure. She wasn't breathing on her own.
Wet, soggy. I know it's a girl. I know she's not old. I know that she's fairly young. And she's somebody's daughter.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a religious person. I believe in God, and I was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and whoever's in that car, their day is today, and that's it. It's done. It's a done deal. They didn't know it waking up this morning, but I know it right now that this person is not here with us anymore.
The fact that we're working on it was good, but the time that she'd been underwater was just, like in my experience, like I just didn't expect. I thought we'd be looking at organ donations or something like that. That's what I thought they would be doing.
Just replaying, you know, the incident over and over in my head. Trying to think if, you know, should I have dove in that water, or, you know, did we do everything that we could have? Because to be honest, at that point, I was told that, you know, that the person wasn't going to make it. I was told, you know, you need to be prepared, that this is a fatal accident, and the chances of this person surviving this is very low.